Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Gabs the Collector, Gabs here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Today, as you would have seen from the title of the video and the thumbnail as well, we're going to be talking about the movie Scream 7. And I'll say this from right now, if you are planning on going to watch Scream 7 and you haven't watched it yet, then don't watch this video, because there's going to be spoilers for sure, because very hard to talk about a movie without spoiling it. I mean, I know people can do that, but I can't. Haven't mastered that effect yet, or skill, or whatever you call it. So that's why, spoiler alert, log off now, close the video, don't watch it if you're planning on watching it. If you're not planning on watching it, then of course continue watching this video, or if you've already watched it, continue watching this video. But if you haven't, please, this is the last time I say it, close off now, don't watch the video, because there'll definitely be spoilers. But we'll get into it now. And again, before I do get into it, this is just my opinion on the movie, what I thought about the movie, what I got from the movie, how I interpreted it. Oh, I can't even talk today. But this is my interpretation of the movie, how I took it in. My interpretation is not wrong, it's not right. Yours is not wrong, yours isn't right. That's not what I'm saying. If you have your own view on the movie, your own opinions, that does count. Not wiping your opinions away. Everyone has different opinions. That's what kind of makes this world in some way a good place, but some way a bad way, because people just don't know how to communicate. It's either this or that, and that's it. You piss off if you don't think the same way. But no, I don't believe that. We can all have great conversations and try and just chat about things properly. There has to be no fights, there has to be no, if we can disagree happily. So I just want to put that out there too. So we'll get into the movie. A lot of people, most people are not liking it, but it did actually make more money than Scream 6 as of me recording this video. So, and I think they said it's the highest one from the whole Scream franchise. Maybe part 1 is still high. I don't know. Again, I read that, but I didn't look into it properly. But I do know that for sure they said it made higher than Scream 6. But I did put a bit of notes on my iPad, just so that I don't forget what I want to talk about. But for me, it's a watchable movie. Okay, it's maybe not it's not like oh my god, this is really good. It was still a good movie, but it wasn't like wow. Don't get me wrong, Neve Campbell being back, that was my number one good about that. Because look, in all honesty, Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, they are good actresses. They are. Don't get me wrong, they're very good actresses. But yes, they were good in 5 and 6, but in all honesty, this is just me, they were not missed in number 7. And I'm guessing, the Scream 7 writers, and maybe they knew that, and that's why they didn't mention anything about them in the movie, because they didn't say where they went, where they're gone. They didn't say anything. So, because in Scream 6 they did mention Neve Campbell, Sydney's character, but in Scream 7 they didn't even mention those two. So so they weren't missed. Scream 6, she was missed for me. Like Neve Campbell, Sydney Prescott. So we'll get that out of the way. Now, to me, it was a good storyline. And I know some people aren't happy with the ending, but for me, it kind of like, I don't know, for me, I'm over the revenge stuff. Like, I know you can make, of course, you can make movies on revenge stuff for decades, but I'm kind of over that already. I am, because that's what 2 and 6 were. Oh, and I'm going to be spoiling some of the other Scream movies. If you haven't watched them as well, log off. I should have said that earlier. But that's what 2 and 6 was. So, to me, that kind of was a little bit of fresh air, or new air, or whatever you want to call it. That it was nothing like that for the motive of the killers. And I'm also glad that they kind of weren't related to Sydney or any of the killers before them, which is mostly what the other movies were. Like, the main killer would be related to either Sydney or killers before them. And so this, this kind of, I know some people think it doesn't make sense, and you're all right. I get what you're saying as well. And like I said, your opinion is not wrong. That's, like I said, that's the whole point of people having opinions and thoughts, and and people take differently. They take movies differently, they take songs differently. But for me, I liked that there was no relation to Sydney, and there was no relation to the killers, from 6 to 1. They didn't really say the motive of the second killer as much, I think. Oh, I know I just watched it, but I'm starting to forget quickly, which is not good. That's another story anyway. But because I don't think they did. I don't remember them making a storyline of the second killer, of why, he was there. But the main killer they did, and it was her next door neighbor. But this is another thing as well, that for me, another breath of fresh air about the movie. It had nothing to do with the actual movies, or Sydney's life, if that makes sense. This, like, the killer became a killer because of Sydney's book. So in Scream 4, Sydney wrote a book, and she was promoting that. That was part of Scream 4. And Out of Darkness, I think it was called. And so in 7, the killer read that book and became obsessed, because she was in an abusive relationship. Her husband was abusive, and she ended him because of the book, and she got away with it. And I know some people are like, oh, how can that happen? But to me, that can, like, have you not heard of stalkers? Like, lucky this is just a movie, but in real life, that it's bad, because that's what stalkers do. They stalk you, and ultimately, I hope this never does happen, but it has happened with some people, which is, we need stronger rules on that. They end them, and that's what the part 7 was about. She became a fan of Sydney, but because of the book, and because I think she thought that Sydney helped her before they became neighbors. Like, she helped her with the book that Sydney wrote, and she was able to free herself from her husband and get away with it. And then, so, she became obsessed with Sydney. And I kind of like that, because it had nothing to do about the other movies, because within Scream movies, there is another movie as well in there called Stab, based on Sydney's life. I think just 1, 2, and 3 is based on her life, and the rest are not. But so usually the killers are either revenge for another killer before that was killed, and it was either the brother, sister, or cousin, or mum or dad getting revenge, or it was them, you know, because of the actual stab movies. So that's why I'm kind of glad that this one was based on her book. And I know some people still probably think it doesn't make sense, and that's fine. But for me, it makes sense. You know, that's why I said people take movies and songs differently. And so for me, it made sense because, like I said, you know, it does happen in real life where people get obsessed with someone, and, you know, and even celebrities, where people get obsessed with celebrities. So, you know, and in a way, the killer in part 7 was obsessed with Sydney, the celebrity, the book, you know, like that she wrote. And and that's the thing, that book was to help people, because in Scream 4, that's what Sydney says. You know, she wrote the book so she can try and help people as well get out of darkness with whatever they are going through. And, you know, and then, you know, in Scream 7, so obviously before Scream 7, the killer killed her husband, and instead of maybe trying a different way, then I understand he got what he deserved, which I shouldn't say that, because shouldn't scoop to their level, because there are other ways of getting out of that. But I mean, he got what he deserved. I mean, if he was abusive, and but that doesn't mean you should end someone. But, you know, but the thing is she did that, and then she got obsessed with the book and Sydney's character. And because in her eyes, that's what Sydney's doing too. Because she said that in 7, that, you know, Sydney is ending all the people that are coming after her, which, yes, it's a different thing. Sorry. It's a different thing. Sydney's being targeted by, you know, mentally ill people. But in Scream 7, the killer took it, you know, as in Sydney is, you know, like, I think, like, well, she's acting upon her murder urges. That's what I took from that, which it's not. So that's why I can understand that ending. Okay, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't a shocking reveal, because I did hear that that Scream 7 was rewritten. I don't know how much. I don't know if many scenes were rewritten, or maybe they were still the two killers in 7, but, you know, but it was based on Melissa and Jenna, because they were still in the movie, but then they left, and then so it was rewritten. So it does feel rushed. You know, I am with people on that. It does feel rushed, but I don't see it as rushed and not make sense. I do see it as being rushed, yes, but it does make sense to me why she would be a killer. You know, the killer in Scream 7. Like I said, the second killer, they did not say anything about why he's become the killer. I'm assuming because she spent time in the mental facility, and he got to know her, and, you know, and she said, "Do you want to join me?" I don't know. I think that's what we're meant to assume, or they were dating. So, you know, that I can see that with the ending. And then, you know, like, I also, you know, they did also make Mindy likable. I mean, she was always kind of likable in 5 and 6, but it just got too much when I understand that she's Randy's niece, but when Randy did it, like, talk about movies and the rules, and it kind of, I don't know how to explain this. It felt natural, even though it was a movie, but it felt natural. Whereas with Mindy, it felt like they were pushing her to be the new Randy, because he's she is her niece, his niece. Sorry. Oh my God, words gap. So, but she was kind of likable because when she was about to start doing that, her brother Chad told her, "No, Mindy, stop," and she did kind of stop. And she did a little bit, but she became more likable. And then, and in all honesty, it was a great performance from Ghostface, both of them. And although to me it wasn't an original motive, because Scream 5 was kind of like that, because I see 5 and 6, the killers the same. Toxic fandom. But Scream 5 was toxic fandom about the movies. They weren't happy about Stab 8 in the Scream universe. So they wanted to do new material so they can make a new Stab. So toxic fandom that way. And then Scream 7 is toxic fandom, but by one person being a fan of Sydney's book, and it became toxic, like the killer of Scream 7. So I can see that as being original, because I don't think anyone's ever based the killings on a book. Like I said, it's always been about Sydney, revenge, or just wanting to end her, and about the movies in the Scream, like the Stab movies in the Scream movies. So this one, I like that about it. And then I also, the actress that played her daughter was good as well. And her husband as well, I was very surprised about. Even though they are doing a movie, because he's a comedian, I think, first and foremost, I think he is. You think, oh no, a comedian, but you know what, he did a good job. Although I would have liked to, I know it's not that important, but I would have liked to know what happened to her other boyfriend, Mark. Because in Scream 3, it was Mark Kincaid that she ended up being with. And he was supposed to come back in Scream 7, Patrick Dempsey, but he couldn't. Because I think he was filming Thanksgiving or part 2 of that one, something like that. So he couldn't come back. So, and because they already mentioned Mark, well, in Scream 3, he was a character, and then they mentioned him in Scream 5, they had to bring a Mark in. But this one is Mark Evans. And they've already got a teenage daughter, which I understand, the decades did pass, so she can have a teenage daughter with this new Mark guy. But they didn't mention anything about, Mark Kincaid, which was Patrick Dempsey's character in Scream 3. He was a cop too. So I think they want us to maybe make up our own story of how they met, because Mark Kincaid was a cop and then this new husband is a cop. Maybe, Mark left the force or retired, but Sydney isn't with him anymore, but she met this new Mark through the police force because of Mark Kincaid, and maybe that's what they're trying to get us to assume, because they didn't say anything about him and how she ended up with Mark Evans, which I guess it's not that important, but I thought maybe they would. And then, the opening scene I did like. It wasn't as bad, even though it was people that had nothing to do with Sydney, which I think that is a good and a bad thing, because, it's not repetitive, but it's like a new thing. They've got nothing to do with Sydney, but dead anyway. And then, what else? And you know what, the death scenes were good as well. They were good, they weren't as bad, but that's what I mean, I did like it, I liked it. Yeah, okay, Scream 6, maybe the killer's reveal was better, but I wasn't a big fan of number 6, because to me the revenge was done already. They didn't even try to change it up a little bit. It was just revenge, the father, and then he brought his 2 kids with him. I guess that's the only change they did. And it's like, it was still a good movie. That's what I mean. Like, lucky with Scream movies, there isn't like a bad one. They're all good, but then, there is favorites and least favorite. But they're not bad movies. And Scream 7 falls under that as well. But I liked Scream 7 because it wasn't revenge. It wasn't a relative. I was kind of, happy that it was someone that is not related to her at all, both of them, even though it was her neighbor, but they're not related. And it didn't seem like they were close friends, although I don't know how she knew the number to Sydney's shop in Pine Grove is where she lives now, Sydney. So maybe they are close friends, because how would she know the number? Or maybe she saw someone put it in. I don't know. But that one got me, because I'm like, if they're not close, how does she know the number to get in to the shop to turn off the alarm? But that's what I mean. I kind of like that it wasn't anyone related to Sydney. And that's also, in my eyes, what kind of makes it more scary, that it could just be anyone, and because of a book that Sydney wrote from 2011, because Scream 4 Scream 4 it did come out in 2011, but even in the movie they're making it 2011 as well. And then here we are, 2026, and someone who doesn't even know Sydney back then, but got to know her now because when she moved to Pine Grove, can just, go after you. It's like, yes, I know some people, again, might be like, that doesn't make sense, but to me it does, and that's why I like that, because that's even more scarier than having relatives go after you. I mean, that's still scary, don't get me wrong, but then a complete stranger at first, and then they got to know you as a neighbor, and then that's it, they're coming after you now. So that's why I kind of like the Scream 7 Killers. Okay, like I said, it probably was rushed with the reveal, because if there was a rewrite, which I know they said there was a rewrite, so I can kind of see why it would be rushed, and probably didn't make sense to too much people. But if it's true, because Kevin Williamson did say that Stu Macher was supposed to be one of the killers in 7, but due to test audience not liking that, they scrapped that, which I'm kind of glad they did, because I know there are a lot of Stu Macher fans out there. I am a Stu Macher fan as well, but he is gone. Sorry, he's gone. That TV that fell on him is not a TV that we have nowadays. That TV that fell on him, the main motherboard or the main body of the TV that makes it work is in the middle, and that's exactly where the TV fell onto his face, in the middle. So he would have been poked with glass deep in, he would have been electrocuted inside his head. It's not like today where the small TV and I think everything is on the side and it's like small electric stuff. And that TV back then in the 90s, that would have broken your foot if it fell on your foot. That's how heavy they were. You needed 2 people to carry it. So he's gone, and I understand that in 3 he was supposed to come back, but at least in 3 he was supposed to be in jail being the mastermind. That, okay, I understand, even though he's supposed to be gone, but at least it's not a few years, like a lot of years have passed. It would have just been 96 they made Scream, and then 98 was Scream 2, and then 2000 was part 3. So it wouldn't have been that much years that passed, and he was still in jail. But you know, this one they were going to make him actually out there, like alive, walking around, and it's like, you know, I think that's why most of the audience reacted badly when they saw that ending, because Kevin Williamson said that, you know, it just didn't make sense after all these years, you know, like with Stu coming back. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read, you know, and he said that, like, they had Stu Macher as the killer, test audience. Now, I don't know how many test audience. I don't know if it was just one night and then they had people come in, or if they took it to different states, or I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. It doesn't say how many test audience watched it, or if it was just one, or in 2 states or 3 states, but the overwhelming amount of the test audience didn't like it, so they changed it, which could explain maybe the rush ending. So maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with Melissa and Jenna, and that's why it was rushed, maybe. But apparently, if Jenna Ortega and Melissa Pereira did stay in this movie, they were supposed to both end up dead in part 7. Well, again, take it with a grain of salt. It hasn't been confirmed properly, but that's what news sites have been saying. That Jenna would have been killed off early in the movie, and then Melissa at the end when the final killer is revealed. And then, which I think they meant she was going to be the killer, and then that's why she would have died, because, you know, she would have revealed herself as a killer, and then she'd be, you know, they would have killed her off. Or, she would have got the killer to reveal himself, and then they kill each other both. But that's apparently what number 7 was supposed to be originally. But, okay, of course, you know, movies sometimes don't make sense. It's a movie world, I get it. But I also am with everybody as well about the scene where she's in the newsroom with Gail, and then Stu Macher calls, which is AI. I mean, it's really him, but they made it AI. But in the movie, it's completely AI, because he's supposed to be dead. But they did bring back that actor. They did bring back Matthew Lillard. But when she ran out to go save her daughter, this is the part that confuses me as well, because why didn't she run back into the newsroom, grab keys and grab one of the cars that were there and go to her cafe? No, she didn't. She just ran there, which to me that is a bit So I do get where people are getting confused on that part too, because I was confused as well. I was like, I don't understand why she ran, but also I don't understand why Gail just stayed there. Why didn't Gail also run out and go into her van and follow Sydney and be like, "Here, look, I got ya"? That as well I don't understand. And I know it's movie world, so, you know, they say don't think too much into it. But that confused me. But even stuff in Scream 6 confused me as well. When they were on the balcony and Sam shot the daughter in the head, because that's how you kill him. And then the father, she was going to shoot the father, but she had no bullets left. But he had a gun in his hand, and she started running up to him, and then he just started running up after her, and they fell down over the balcony. And it's like, but you had a gun. When I know Melissa is the main character in Scream 6, so he couldn't have shot her. So that could have maybe been written differently. But that as well I didn't get. I was like, okay. But like I said, it's movie world, so you tend to be like, okay, whatever. But, you know, which I guess that's what movies do to you. But for me, I liked Scream 7. Those are my opinions on it. Like I said, I liked the ending. maybe the reveal was rushed, but I do like the motive of the main killer. You know, like I said, the second one, the guy, I don't know his motives. I guess we have to just assume that ourselves. But the main one, I am happy with her motives because it does happen in real life. So even though this is a movie and they can get away with pretty much a lot, I still like that it is based on real life. So because that can happen, people, you know, it's bad because people can get obsessed with a book, with music, with a movie. Toxic fandom, like even this as well. There's toxic fans as well. Well, they're not really fans, but trolls, I guess. But then there can be fans of something, but they are toxic. So it does happen. So, and in this case, it was a toxic fan, but it was based on Cindy's book. So I get it. But I did like it. It was enjoyable, and I liked it. And I'm sorry to the Sternmacher fans, but I'm glad he's not back. Because after 30 decades, it's pretty hard to explain where he's been and why no one has known he's still alive. Again, I know this isn't real life, and you know, in the Scream universe, they can make up any excuse why no one knew if they were to bring him back. But I'm glad they didn't. So I'm kind of glad that the test audience didn't like that. So they were like, okay, let's erase it. But apparently there is talks to make Scream 8. Hasn't been greenlit yet, but we'll see. But overall, I did like Scream 7. It wasn't my best, but it was better than 5 based on the motive of the killer. Because I am over revenge. Even though you can make plenty of movies based on revenge, I know. But again, just me, I'm over revenge stories. So, you know, I kind of like that it was a different motive. You know, but I liked it. And, you know, I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. Maybe 6, you know, because of the revenge. Because of the rush ending of the reveal for the killers. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit longer one, but like I said, if you guys want to chat, we can, but keep it peaceful in the comments, because this video is that too. It's just me saying how I feel about it, not you know, again, not scrubbing any of your opinions or saying your opinions are wrong. No way. Like I said, everyone takes movies, music, books, toys, everyone takes things differently. We absorb things differently. We all think differently. That's fine. So if we can have a peaceful conversation in the comments for sure. But if it does get nasty, then I'm 40, I'm in my 40s. I don't have time for crap like that. So I will just delete the comment. And I don't care if people know that. But if you want to keep it peaceful, sure, we can talk about it, because that's, you know, that's, people can do that, but some people choose not to. But, you know, again, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and like I said, something different. But if you're new here, please click like, subscribe, comment down below, and if you're returning, thank you so much. It does mean a lot, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Please stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.